Have you ever noticed how someone can walk away from you? Quietly, suddenly, without warning. And somehow it feels like the world stops for a moment. One breath you are holding on, believing the bond is still alive. And the next, everything inside you collapses. Rejection, abandonment, loss. These are not just emotional wounds. They are psychological earthquakes that reshape your entire inner landscape. And when someone you love pulls away, the mind instantly creates a story. I wasn't enough. I should have tried harder. Maybe if I fix myself, they'll come back. But Osho would tell you something radically different, something most people never hear. They didn't leave because you lacked something. They left because your paths stopped aligning with their inner journey. And the moment you understand this, the pain begins to shift. Not disappear, but transform. You see, when someone leaves you, your first reaction is to chase, to explain, to justify your worth. It's instinct. It's attachment. It's the unconscious mind trying to protect its old patterns. But Osho explains that when a relationship ends abruptly, it's rarely about failure. It's about energy no longer matching. He says we suffer not because they left, but because we resist the inner truth that letting go is part of our spiritual evolution. This is the moment where emotional healing begins, when you stop asking, why did they leave? And start asking, what truth is this loss trying to show me? And maybe, just maybe, this heartbreak is not punishment. Maybe the universe removed them because you were shrinking yourself. Maybe the silence they created is the silence your soul needs to wake up. Maybe this isn't the end, it's the beginning of a deeper relationship with yourself. But before we go deeper into Osho's teaching, let me ask you something. How many times have you begged someone quietly, internally to stay? Not with words, but with your energy. How many times have you held on to someone who was already gone? And how many times has that destroyed your peace? This video is for the part of you that is tired, the part that is exhausted from carrying emotional weight that was never yours. The part that is finally ready to understand the truth behind their departure, the story your pain created, but the truth your consciousness is now mature enough to hear. Because Osho reveals that people don't leave to hurt you. They leave because their role in your story has ended. And when you try to force them back, you are not fighting for love, you are fighting against your own spiritual growth. Let this be your moment of awareness. Let this be the moment you stop running after what is already walking away. Let this be the moment you look at yourself with clarity, compassion, and honesty. And we're just getting started. When someone walks away from your life, the first thing that collapses is not the relationship itself, it's your inner sense of stability. It feels like a free fall. Your chest tightens, your thoughts spin, your heart races in circles searching for meaning. It's not just rejection, it's not just loss. It's the psychological shock of having the ground pulled from beneath your feet. And Osho explains that this moment of collapse is where most people make their greatest mistake. They respond from fear, not from awareness. Fear is what makes you text them again. Fear is what makes you replay every memory as if you could rewrite it. Fear is what makes you begif, not with words, then with energy. Fear is what makes you attach even more tightly to the one who is already gone. The mind hates endings. It hates uncertainty. It hates silence. And so it clings. Not because the person is right for you, but because the familiar feels safer than the unknown. But Osho reveals a deeper truth. When someone leaves you, they are not simply walking away. They are interrupting your unconscious patterns. They are forcing you to see the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. They are pushing you into a confrontation with your own inner emptiness. That's why it hurts so much. Not because they were your source of love, but because you used them to avoid meeting yourself. And here is the part people never talk about. Your mind does not grieve the loss of the person. Your mind grieves the loss of the story you created with them, the idea of who they were, the future you imagined, the identity you built around their presence. So the pain feels unbearable because it tears through 3 layers at once: your ego, your expectations, your emotional attachment. This is why the first reaction is panic. You feel the urge to fix it immediately, to run back, to hold on, to do whatever it takes to stop the bleeding. But Osho warns, this is the moment you must pause. This is the moment you must breathe. This is the moment you must stop running towards someone who is already walking away. Because that panic is not love, it is fear of being alone with yourself. And until you face that fear directly, you will continue recreating the same emotional wounds again and again. Letting go isn't just a spiritual practice, it is a psychological one. It is the first step toward emotional healing and self-awareness. It is the moment you shift from reacting to understanding, from blaming yourself to observing your inner truth, from attachment to inner freedom. And here is something Osho insisted on. Pain becomes suffering the moment you resist it. Pain becomes transformation the moment you witness it. So instead of asking, why did they leave me? A more important question is, what part of me is terrified of their absence? Because that is the part that needs your attention. That is the part that needs your compassion. That is the part that needs your healing, not them. We haven't even reached the deepest layer yet. And you are about to see what truly lies beneath the pain. The truth is this: the person who left you is not the person your mind is grieving. Not entirely, not fully, not honestly. What you're holding on to is not them, it's the idea you created of them, the version your heart built, the character your mind designed, the story your loneliness completed. Osho explains that suffering in relationships rarely comes from reality, it comes from illusion. We don't mourn the person, we mourn the dream. We mourn the future we painted around them. We mourn the version of ourselves we imagined when they were beside us. Think about it. The moments you replay in your mind, the good memories, the laughs, the affection, they are real. But the meaning you gave them, that part is yours. You embroidered it with hope, longing, and unmet needs. And when they walked away, they didn't just leave your life. They shattered the story you were living in your imagination. That is why it hurts so sharply. Not because they were perfect, but because you believed the version of them you created was irreplaceable. Osho says, when love is unconscious, you don't love the person, you love your projection. And projections are powerful. They make you ignore red flags. They make you misread silence as depth. They make you mistake inconsistency for mystery. They make you confuse emotional unavailability with destiny. You didn't fall in love blindly, but the illusion made you stay blindly. And here is the part almost no one admits. They were already leaving long before they physically left. Their energy changed. Their presence faded. Their words grew lighter, shorter, less rooted in truth. But your mind didn't want to see it, because seeing it meant facing the reality that the fantasy was collapsing. So instead of letting the truth surface, you held on harder. You kept feeding the illusion. You kept hoping the story would return to how it was in the beginning. But Osho teaches that clinging to illusion is the greatest source of emotional suffering. Not because illusion is evil, but because illusion is fragile. It cannot survive reality. And when it finally breaks when the person walks away, your heart breaks with it. But here is something incredibly powerful. If the illusion breaks, it means you are ready to see the truth, ready to see them as they are, ready to see yourself as you are, ready to understand that their departure is not the end, is a correction, a realignment, a release. The universe will always remove what you cannot let go of by yourself. So instead of asking, why did they leave? Ask, what illusion was I living in that needed to fall apart? Because when you understand that, you stop grieving their absence, and you start reclaiming your inner freedom. And you'll need that freedom for what comes next. The moment when you finally understand what their departure was truly trying to reveal about you. But Osho says the real question is far more powerful. What was life trying to show me by removing this person? Because every departure is a message. Every loss is a mirror. Every goodbye carries a lesson that your soul has been avoiding for too long. And here is the truth. You rarely hear. The person who left wasn't just leaving you. They were leaving the version of you that you had outgrown. Life will always subtract what no longer matures your growth. It will pull away people who drain your energy. It will distance you from those who confuse your mind. It will separate you from those who block your evolution, even if you love them deeply. Osho teaches that loss is not punishment, it is redirection. It is life whispering, you deserve more than this smallness you accepted. You deserve the love you tried to create alone. You deserve the peace you kept sacrificing. But here's the painful part. You don't see the lesson while you're hurting. You don't see clarity while the wound is fresh. You don't see freedom while the absence still echoes in your chest. At first, all you feel is the empty space they left behind. You replay conversations, rehearse alternate endings, obsess over the moment things shifted. This is natural. The mind hates unfinished stories. But closure doesn't come from them. Closure comes from understanding the lesson. And often, the lesson is this. You were giving more than you were receiving. You were carrying the connection alone. You were adjusting, bending, shrinking so they would stay. Loving them became a full-time job, while they gave you part-time effort. Life removed them because you wouldn't. Another lesson. You were ignoring your intuition. You knew something didn't feel right. You sensed the emotional distance, the misalignment, the subtle disrespect. But you silenced your instincts to protect the connection. Life had to speak louder. And the deepest lesson of all, you were choosing them over yourself, over your peace, over your worth, over your expansion. And life, in its strange but divine wisdom, chose you by taking them away. Osho says, when the wrong person leaves your life, the right energy finally has space to enter. But the space must first be cleared. That is why loss feels violent. It is the breaking of an inner attachment, the ripping of an emotional identity, the collapse of a story your heart wasn't ready to end. Yet every collapsed story makes room for a truer one. Every empty space invites a higher connection. Every loss removes something that wasn't meant to go where you're going next. So instead of asking, why did they leave? Ask, what part of me was life trying to protect or awaken? Because once that answer emerges, the pain loosens, the story settles, and the lesson transforms you from the inside out. And with this understanding, you are finally ready for the next truth. The moment when you stop chasing what left and begin reclaiming what stayed within you. There comes a moment, quiet, subtle, almost invisible, when something inside you breaks, but not in the way you fear. It's not the kind of break that destroys you. It's the kind that frees you. Osho says that freedom doesn't arrive with loud revelations. It arrives in a whisper. It arrives the day you stop running after someone who has already emotionally left. It arrives the moment you stop negotiating for the bare minimum. It arrives when your soul says, with a soft but unshakable clarity, I am done, not angry, not begging, not fighting, just done. Because the exhaustion becomes louder than the attachment. The self-respect becomes stronger than the fear of losing them. The truth becomes brighter than the illusion of connection. And this moment, this sacred inner shift, is when you reclaim everything you once gave away. When you stop chasing, something in your energy realigns, your breath deepens, your heart settles, your mind stops spiraling in circles around someone who never learned how to stay. You stop checking your phone. You stop overthinking silence. You stop replaying their last words like they were scripture. You see the dynamic as it truly was, unbalanced, draining, built on hope instead of reciprocity. And suddenly, without force, without drama, without revenge, you let go. This is what Osho calls the return to your own center. It is the moment the power flips back into your hands. The moment you stop offering explanations to someone who never deserved access to your heart. The moment you stop trying to fix what was breaking you. And here's the truth, you might not know yet. When you stop chasing them, you stop abandoning yourself. You stop shrinking your needs just to be tolerated. You stop trying to be easy just to be chosen. You stop waiting for crumbs when you were made for a feast. Because chasing someone who doesn't stay is a form of self-rejection. It is the mind's illusion that love can be earned through effort. Osho teaches that real love is effortless, not because it lacks work, but because it flows between people who are emotionally present. You can't force someone to show up. You can't bend yourself into someone else's version of enough. You can't outrun their indifference with your devotion. When they walk away, they are teaching you something. But when you stop chasing, you are teaching yourself something far greater. You learn what your energy is worth. You learn what your heart deserves. You learn the difference between longing and alignment, between attachment and truth, between love and fear. And here is the deepest revelation. The person you truly lose when you chase someone else is yourself. And the person you finally meet when you stop chasing is the one you've been searching for all along. This is where your story begins to shift. This is where your power returns. This is where you stop bleeding emotionally for someone who couldn't even offer a bandage. And now, with this new clarity, you are finally ready for the final step. The moment when you turn inward, reclaim your energy, and begin the chapter that was waiting for you all along. If you've arrived here, it means something inside you already knows the truth. Not the truth about them, but the truth about you. About your worth, your quiet strength, your capacity to rise even after breaking. And if this message touched you, even for 1 second, don't ignore that feeling. It's the beginning of your awakening. So here's what I want you to do, not for the algorithm, but for your own healing. Subscribe to the channel. If this spoke to your heart, imagine what happens when you keep walking with us. Imagine receiving teachings that bring clarity, calm, and inner freedom exactly when you need them. Comment below, I choose myself. Write it as a declaration, as a boundary, as the first promise you make to your own soul in a long time. Leave your like, not as a gesture of support, but as an act of energy exchange, a way of saying, This message matters to me. Let it reach someone who needs it. And before you go, the next video is already on your screen. Watch it. It continues this journey of letting go, reclaiming your power, and stepping into the life you were meant to live. You don't need to chase. You don't need to beg. You don't need to break yourself to keep anyone. This is your moment, your shift, your turning point. I'll meet you in the next video.